Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Now today's topic is why I think you should visit El Salvador. Okay, so my number one reason, or at least the reason I'm going to start with, is how friendly the people are. Now I already made a video on this exact topic and I do stand by it. I genuinely think that the people in El Salvador are some of the most friendly people that I've ever met. Now there's a lot of countries that I've been to where there are some really lovely people, like Thailand for example. Virtually everybody that you meet there is genuinely friendly, really pleased to have you visiting. But there's just something a little bit different about the people in El Salvador. I just feel like everyone I met, or virtually everybody I met, was going out of their way to be nice, welcoming me to the country, trying to help me out with my bad Spanish. Now I know there's quite a few people that are going to say, oh, it's because you're a female traveler, that's why people are being nice to you. But this is something that I've heard from lots of different people that are visiting El Salvador, male, female, young and old. They've genuinely said that the people there are just so kind. So that is definitely a reason that you want to visit somewhere. Reason number two, the awesome beaches. Now, El Salvador has a nice long coastline. There's lots of cool little towns dotted along, and I actually was lucky enough to stay in a few of these areas. So the first place I went to was somewhere called Mazata, which is pretty small to be honest, and I stayed at some really nice cabins there. Got away from it for a little bit, there was no Wi-Fi, just nice sand, nice surf, fresh seafood. But along the coast, there were a few more towns, including El Zonte, which is a pretty cool surf spot, and then also El Tunco. Now, El Tunco is probably one of the most popular tourist destinations in El Salvador, and for good reason. There's some really great restaurants, good surf, tour companies, lots of things that tourists might need, and then also it's got a pretty good nightlife as well. Now, people come in from all over the country, especially the capital, on a weekend, and they come and party in El Tunco. So I spent a bit of time there, especially over a weekend, and they just have some amazing sunsets. There's a few beach bars, and then as the sun's going down, people relax with a drink, listen to the DJs before going on to the clubs. So it does actually have a pretty good nightlife. And this is actually one thing that I think people often think El Salvador doesn't have. I think they think if you're going to visit there that you're not going to be able to party, you're not going to be able to go out, but it's actually not true at all, and El Tunco definitely proves this theory wrong. Okay, reason number three, the scenery. Now El Salvador is actually really beautiful. As soon as you get outside of the cities, there's just some absolutely amazing landscapes. I really liked Lago de Coatepeque. So it's a big lake surrounded by hills, super beautiful. There's some lovely lake houses that you can stay at around the outside of the lake. Not too far away from there as well is Santa Ana volcano, and I did actually hike up the volcano. It's probably like an hour to 2 hour hike, depending on how fit you are or how often you stop to take photos. And then from the top of there, you get the most amazing view over not only Lago de Coatepeque, but also inside the volcanic crater. And some of the scenery here was just completely different to anything I've seen before. And when I posted my photos online, people were just blown away by how pretty it was. Now, another place that I really liked that was super pretty is Ruta de las Flores. And this is an area that's made up of 6, I believe. I'm sure people will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but 6 little towns and villages. And they are just so quaint, so pretty. There's loads of street art, there's markets, there's obviously a lot of flowers, as the name would suggest. And you can actually spend a few days just traveling around between the different towns and villages. It's really safe, really lovely, and especially on a weekend, there's some great food markets around. Another really pretty place is called Suchitoto, and it's slightly off the tourist route. There are obviously some tourists there, but it's not quite as busy as places like El Tunco. It's a lovely colonial style town. There's another lake next to it. There's lots of multicolored buildings. There's cobbled streets, and it's actually quite easy to reach. It's only a couple of hours outside of San Salvador. So it's definitely in my recommendations if you're making a trip to El Salvador yourself. Now, another reason that you need to visit El Salvador is because of the food. Now you probably already think that you know what Central American food is all about. You've got your rice, your beans, probably your chicken, but El Salvador is famous for its incredible pupusas. Now when I was in El Salvador, I honestly thought I might turn into a pupusa because I ate them for virtually every meal, because there's no time when a pupusa doesn't work. They honestly suit every occasion. They work for breakfast, they work for dinner, they work if you're hungover. They're pretty easy to eat as well, so even if you're traveling on one of the chicken buses, then people come on with the pupusas, and they're filling as well, so you only need a couple. Well, I say you only need a couple, but it's so easy to eat endless amounts of them. I'm not going to pretend they're amazing for your health, but when they're that tasty, it doesn't really matter. Now, another reason that you should visit El Salvador is genuinely because it's actually pretty cheap. So if you're on a backpacker budget, then you can travel around very cheaply. The chicken buses are like 35, 45 cents. It takes the dollar as well, so if you're American coming over, then you don't need to worry about an exchange rate. You can just come over with your American dollars. And if you're British like me, I'm not American, even though people keep thinking I am, then obviously the exchange rate is pretty easy to understand from the pound to the dollar. Food is pretty cheap. You can get some really great hostels for pretty good value, even in the more popular places like El Tunco. And then even if you're in the city and you don't want to travel around by bus, then you can actually get an Uber. So I had my Uber account linked up just with my normal credit card, and once again, it's just a couple of dollars to travel pretty much all over the city. And if you wanted to go out in Zona Rosa, you wouldn't need to worry about getting home because you could just get an Uber back. So one of the final reasons that I'm going to give today as to why you should visit El Salvador, and this is by no means the end of my reasons. I just don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just going to put in 4 or 5 reasons today. But you should visit because at the moment it's just not firmly on the tourist trail. And this just means that a lot of these amazing destinations are just not going to be that busy. Yeah, sure, if you go to El Tunco on a Saturday, it is going to be pretty busy. There's going to be foreign and local tourists. But if you go to some of these places like Suchitoto and even round Lago de Coatepeque, it's just not going to be that busy. And you do feel a little bit more adventurous, a bit like you've got the place to yourself. And it just makes a difference really, because there are so many places as a backpacker that you go to that are beautiful places, but then you're having to share that experience with 1,000 other people, which can sometimes take a little bit of the fun away. Now these are just a few of the reasons as to why you should consider visiting El Salvador. If you've been yourself, or if indeed you live there or have lived there, then please comment below and let me know your top reasons as to why you should visit El Salvador, because I love to read all of the comments, and I'll definitely do another video like this again with some more suggestions as to why you need to add El Salvador onto your travel list. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thanks so much to everybody that's subscribed. If you haven't already and you're enjoying my vlogs, then make sure you hit subscribe below, and I'll see you guys soon.